The NES and the Famicom disk system version of Kid Icarus had some differences upon the release of the game. Before I talk about the game, I want to go over the cartridge and box art for each version. The NES used this big cartridge that we already know here in the West. The Famicom console had an add-on peripheral called the Famicom disk system instead of the regular cartridge. It used floppy disk called the disk cards that stores data storage and adds additional high-quality sound channels to the Famicom disk system games, just like Kid Icarus. The box art for the Famicom disk system version looks decent, and then we shift over to this. What is this? No, seriously, what is this? What is up with the box art? You see these two enemies right here? These two enemies never appeared at all. The same thing goes for this blue thing. What exactly is this blue thing? Is this an enemy too? Yes? No? Maybe? Also, what is up with Pit's face? Why does it look like someone drew his face in MS Paint? Now for the game itself. The first spotted difference in the game is the title screen. We all know this game as Kid Icarus, but in Japan, it's called Light Mythology, Palutena's Mirror. Pressing the start button will take you to the menu with two options, start or continue. If you select continue, you'll be taken to the password screen. The only three ways to get passwords is to either get a game over or look it up in Nintendo's Player's Guide, Top Secrets Passwords, and Nintendo Power Magazine. The passwords found and used back in the day won't work on any re-release of the game. Trust me, I tried each and every single password, and none of them work. From the Wii's Virtual Console and onwards, the passwords are based on the Wii version. I had to look up the Wii's passwords online, and I tried it out. And yeah, all of them work. The Famicom disk system version of the game has a 3-slot save system that the players can name and save the game, as well as displaying the player's score, the number of hearts collected, and the top 5 high score. If you're wondering what kill mode does, it just deletes your save file. Moving on to the audio, the Famicom disk system version is slightly more enhanced compared to the NES version. I will let you hear it for yourself. I will play the NES version first, and then the Famicom disk system version. The pause screen in the NES version has gray bricks. The map's text is visible at all times, without obtaining the map, and the text colors are in white, blue, and beige. The pause screen in the Famicom Disk System version has blue bricks. The player has to get the map in order to see the map's text colors, this time in green color. At the top of the screen is the player's save file, and the text colors, besides the map's text, is in white. The player can haggle with the shopkeeper to lower the price, or accidentally raise the price. This is determined by Pit's arrow strength and the stage number. For example, if you're on stage 2 and your arrow strength is on 1, it's most likely you're going to fail haggling the shopkeeper. But if you're on stage 3 and your arrow strength is on, let's say, 4, it's most likely guaranteed that the shopkeeper will lower the price. In the NES version, you have to press the A and B buttons on the second controller at the same time. In the Famicom Disk System version, you have to use the second controller that has a built-in mic and say something like, "Lower the price please" in Japanese, or just say anything that you want to say, as well as blowing into the mic really loud while holding the A button. This can't be replicated when Nintendo made official Famicom Joy-Con controllers for the Nintendo Switch Online.
Lower the price, please. Oh, screw you and your tail-ups.
In the final level, the palace in the sky had the player shoot down the enemies while moving the D-pad as the screen auto-scrolls by itself. The different color bricks brings a nice background aesthetic, to say the least, as Pit tries to get to Medusa in this long stage. The Famicom Disk System version had the player press the A button to make Pit fly, and the screen moves along with him. He can stand, touch, or in this case, hover on the different color bricks, and getting to Medusa is a lot quicker. a humanoid Medusa shows up in the NES version, and after defeating her, a exploding transition will play, followed by jingle music. The Famicom Disk System version doesn't have this. After completing the game, the player gets to keep everything that they have in their first playthrough. That's if you've been playing the game non-stop. But in the Famicom Disk System version, if you want to play the game again after defeating Medusa on the same game file, you don't get to keep anything. The NES version has 5 different endings with exclusive backgrounds. A message was added to a separate screen. It features credits after getting one of the endings, and the best ending is exclusive to this version. The ending you get in this version depends on the number of hearts, endurance, arrow strength, and the 3 special weapons: the protective crystal, the fire arrow, and the sacred bow. Each category I'm going to mention must be maxed out to count, otherwise it doesn't count. Let's put this in a point system, just to make it clear. Maxing out one category counts as 1 point. The number of hearts you must max out is 999. Endurance, the health bar, the health block, or whatever you want to call it, is 5 pieces or segments. For arrow strength, you have to max out all 5 arrows. And for the special weapons, there's a total of 3. Here are the requirements for each ending. To get the worst ending, get 0 out of the 4 requirements, and Pit gets a sickle, becoming a farmer. To get the bad ending, gets 1 out of the 4 requirements, and Pit gets a helmet, becoming an average trooper in Palutena's army. To get the normal ending, get 2 out of the 4 requirements, and Pit gets a plume helmet, becoming the captain of Palutena's army. To get the good ending, get 3 out of the 4 requirements, and Palutena transforms Pit into a taller and muscular Pit. To get the best exclusive ending, you must have all 4 requirements. It's the same thing like in the good ending, except this time, she will kiss him on the cheek. If you think these requirements were tough to get in the NES version, especially going for the best ending, the Famicom Disk System version is even more difficult. In this version, the ending you get depends on the player's arrow strength, endurance, and the number of continues. Once again, using the point system, each health segment or pieces counts as 10 points, and every continue is -1 point. Here are the requirements for each ending. Less than 60 points. The Specknose ending, 60 to 79 points. The Farmer Pit ending, 80 to 84 points. The Trooper Pit ending, 85 to 99 points. The Captain Pit ending, and finally, the perfect 100 points. The Tall and Muscular Pit ending. There's no background. The best ending in the NES version is not in this version. There is the exclusive worst ending, where Pit gets turned into a Specknose. The message that was on a separate screen in the NES version is shown in the same screen, with Pit and Palutena, as well thanking the player's save file name. If you want to know what this message says in English, it translates to this: the light of peace has returned to Angelland. However, your fight doesn't end here. You must keep battling to protect this peace. Afterwards, there's no credits. It just takes you back to the title screen. That's all we know about the regional differences between both versions. But that doesn't stop there. Nintendo released a remastered version of Kid Icarus on the 3DS eShop, developed by A.I.G. This was first given away for European Club Nintendo members for free if they registered 2 out of the 13 eligible 3DS titles between November 1st to January 31st, 2012. In North America, it was a pre-order bonus when you pre-order Kid Icarus Uprising, and in Japan, it was released on January 18th, 2012. It was eventually released on the 3DS eShop within the same year for only about $5.99 US. So what are some of the changes made in this remastered version? Well, for starters, it has a brand new title screen music, and 3 options: start game, records, and options. But then again, these were the same features that appeared on the other 3DS Classics games. The record option tracks the player's best score for each playthrough, and the options menu can let the player change the intensity of the 3D effect, customize the controls for the player's liking, since the weapon switching is set to the Y button instead of select, erase data, and watch the credits. The content from the Famicom Disk System version is now implemented in this game. We can finally get to experience this for the very first time. The same thing goes for the Japanese players, when some of the contents from the NES version were implemented as well. The passwords and the password system are removed. The pause screen now has blue bricks. The map's text is not visible at all times. The game's sound effects, music, and the registration screen that has the 3 save slots are there as well. Deleting the save file, inserting the new player's save file, and the top 5 high score are from the Famicom Disk System version. Here are some of the contents that were from the NES version that was carried over to this version. The screen auto scrolls in the palace in the sky, as well as not pressing the A button to make Pit fly, and the different colored bricks are part of the background. The exclusive best ending, the humanoid Medusa sprite, the exploding transition, even though it's a bit different, and the credits this time has still images of Pit walking through the 3 worlds and fighting Medusa. Even though we got the best contents from both versions in this remastered, there are some regional differences. The Angel Land story subtitle was removed from the title screen, but the Japanese version still has this subtitle. According to the Japanese website for the 3DS classics of Kid Icarus, custom mode is called arrangement mode. The map's text is in green only if you obtain the map. Both versions still follow their ending requirements from their respective original version, so no spec notes ending here in the West, and the ending message are still different. But the message from the NES version does appear in both versions if you look very closely at the registration screen right around here. You can just barely make of it. Regional differences aside, everything in this game has a stunning background, upgraded visuals, and has borders around the levels. With the backgrounds being added, the overworld, from the beginning to end, starts off sunny and then turns into nighttime. The same thing happens in the Sky World levels. Pit's journey to save Angel Land and Palutena from Medusa only took him about 2 days. Before anybody asks, yes, I'm aware this happens in the original, but still, it's more detailed this time. For the upgraded visuals, here's what I noticed. The updated foreground, such as the snow and the grass. The chamber's doors now cast a shadow. The torch used to be red. It's now changed to a brown color. The sacred box, the torch, the friendly god, and the plutons doesn't change their color to match the color of the arrow strength. The sliding spikes in the fortress now looks like one large spike compared to the original when it used to have small lines within the spikes. The ending credits has a sepia tone-like filter on what looks like to be a tablet with screenshots of Pit traveling through the 3 worlds and fighting Medusa. Besides the implemented features, regional differences, and visuals upgrade, the only 2 things left to talk about is the gameplay and the other quality of life changes. This time, the name that is given to one of your save files will determine the name you give to Pit. The friendly god, or Zeus, will call you by that register name. The game lets you choose 2 modes, custom and original mode. If you choose original mode, the gameplay would be played the same way as before. By choosing custom mode, Pit can rapid fire arrows on the ground and while jumping by holding the A button or whatever control scheme you decide to input the fire button. Not only that, the player can slow hit descent by holding the jump button as well, and he can jump while aiming his bow upwards. His speed is increased and his jumping is more precise and easier to control. If you were to jump by pressing the A button while holding the directional pad, in this case, holding right on the D-pad and letting go of both buttons after mid-jump, Pit will walk just a bit. In original mode, he just slides, and in custom mode, he just stops in place. Pressing the A button while holding right on the D-pad and letting go of both buttons after Pit lands on the ground. The same thing happens in the original version and original mode. When he does this in custom mode, he just slowly descends forward. In both original and custom mode, the position where Pit fires his arrows happens to stay in place while jumping to the next platform. When this happens in the original version, the position of the arrow being fired depends on the screen moving up. When Pit's head hit the ceiling or platform above, he loses movement, causing him to lose momentum. The 3DS Classics version lets you continue your movement without losing momentum. The game only autosaves after completing each stage. Receiving an extra life block refuels your health for the block that you received. Exiting the chamber's loading time is a little bit quicker. Getting hit, jumping, walking, firing the arrow, the stage ending theme, Hydra, Pandora, and the mallet had their sound effects more enhanced. Or is it change? I mean, it sounds different. The Reapers no longer turn around after being shot from the back, and as well as flashing a white color, or multicolor, or when getting hit by multiple arrows. The same thing applies to Pit when he gets hit. Pit doesn't get pushed around by enemies, or leaving the chambers. Pit doesn't hide behind obstacles, such as the bushes, the pillars, and the trees, unless it's the sacred box. Pit's default arrow strength in the 3DS Classics version goes a bit shorter. If you select custom mode, the original version and original mode are on par with each other. There's no lag when there's multiple enemies on screen. The screen no longer flickers when you either pause the game, entering the chambers, and exiting the chambers. If you pause the game when the text continues to scroll when entering the chambers that has the friendly god, the shopkeeper, the nurse, and the black marketeer, Pit disappears. But in this version, he stays in place. In the fortress, after you make a purchase, if you pause the game, the shopkeeper disappears. And like I said before, just like Pit in this version, he stays in place. The same thing goes for the nurse. Enemies have a wider hitbox that's very slightly noticeable. In the chamber, filled with the same enemies, like the enemies in the fortress, and the Spec-Nos, there's a total of 8. The 3DS Classics version only has 7. In some rare occasions, there's 8. Not sure why this happens, or why they changed it to 7. Perhaps I defeated a Spec-Nos a little bit too early, and a new one spawned in, or something. Haggling the shopkeeper this time around is by pressing the A button and the start button at the same time. If you want to know if the 3DS mic works for this version, the answer is no. Yeah, I know. It's such a missed opportunity. The Pandora boss fight in the 3DS Classics version is not transparent. Instead, she's semi-transparent compared to the original version. But then again, the original version didn't have backgrounds, causing Pandora to blend in perfectly, despite the regional differences and changes. This is still the definitive version to play, and I highly recommend playing this over the original. The only 3 big downsides in this version is that since it's heavily based on the Famicom disk system version, you don't get to keep anything in your first playthrough onto the next playthrough. It doesn't include all of the endings, and the game isn't in widescreen. Now as a special bonus, let's compare the second game, Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, and see the difference between both versions. Oh, wait, I forgot. It wasn't released in Japan until February 8th, 2012 on the 3DS eShop. It used the English version of the game. There were plans to get it translated into Japanese back then, until it wasn't for some reason. There's even unused katakana character sets in the data files for the game's graphics. In this game, you can't haggle the shopkeeper, but you can haggle the black marketeer. All you have to do is press left, down, A, B. If you're wondering about the Wii and the Wii U ports on haggling the shopkeeper, it still works, but only for the NES version. As for the Famicom disk system version, you can't do this. Since you know, there's no mic. The same thing applies to the Japanese exclusive GBA port as part of the Famicom mini collection for the Game Boy Advance. Oh, one more thing. If you manage to download Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters just before the 3DS eShop went down, go to Settings, Data Management, and then locate the save data for the game. For some reason, the game is titled Kid Icarus 2. Well, there you go. That should cover all of the regional differences in both versions, and more, unless I missed something. But who knows? I'm tired. Very, very tired. Anyway, as always, take care, be safe, have yourselves a good night, and I'll see you back here again with your boy, Mr. A.I.G. Later.